It's that time of year again, the best time of year. A new class of potential future NBA stars is about to enter the league. And for the Las Vegas Venom, they have the supreme benefits of having the number one overall pick. In this upcoming draft, there was a lot of debate last episode about who that should be. I have read the comments, and it is time to take the next big star in this Las Vegas Venom series. Let's get the draft underway. Now, as I mentioned previously, the number one consensus player in the draft is Brook Paul. And I brought up last episode that perhaps in my mind, it wasn't so set in stone that he would be the pick. He has a Michael Jordan comparison as his ceiling, so it seems like he would be the one. But I brought up the case for the center, Burke, and how he would fit in. After I released that episode, there were a ton of comments, as I kind of suspected there might be, throwing their support that it has to be Brook Paul. The arguments being that we can always get a Wemby stopper at a later point in the series, and you just can't pass up on somebody that could eventually be the GOAT. And a good general manager listens to his scouting department. And honestly, I treat my comment section like my scouting department. And so, with the number one overall pick in the 2027 NBA draft, the Las Vegas Venom will select Burke. The center out of Duke. He stands at 7'3" with a ridiculous 7'11" wingspan, 270 pounds. That is just not the size of a human that you typically get in the NBA draft, and combine that with his skill set, which really doesn't have weaknesses. This guy is a truly special prospect, and I think is an elite fit for what the Las Vegas Venom are trying to build in their future. The Venom really need help at the center spot. I think both of the centers that we currently have on the team are better suited as backups in the long term. And so they add to their front court with Burke being taken as the number one overall player in the 2027 NBA draft. Getting into who we're getting here, we have a Hakeem Olajuwon Hall of Fame ceiling with this player. He has touch at all levels of the court. There are no weaknesses or medical scares to report with this player. He's going to start with 6 badges, and the Las Vegas Venom are extremely happy to add Burke onto this basketball team. Kicking off the draft with a pick that will be a surprise, and it's worth noting, I talked about the comments in support of Brook Paul, and I said that a good GM listens to his scouting department. Well, there was also some support, and a decent amount of it, for Burke as well. And again, just the size that you don't really see. You hear it from Sean here. Burke is a once-in-a-generation physical specimen. For this generation, it's actually 2, because we have, of course, had Victor Wembanyama, towering height, ridiculous wingspan, and he says it's a no-brainer selection. It certainly wasn't a no-brainer. There was a lot of debates, but the debate is over, and it ends with Burke in a Las Vegas Venom uniform. That's going to bring up the Miami Heat with the number 2 pick in the class, and I suspect they already know what they are going to do, and that is select Brook Paul. Brook Paul is a fantastic pick. We've talked about him at length at this point leading up to the draft. The hype surrounding him is very real, very warranted. Some saying that he could be a future face of the league kind of player. It's no joke when you are compared to the GOAT, and that is exactly what we have here with Brook Paul. 6'7", 216 pounds, a lefty who, again, no weaknesses really to report in his game. And the Miami Heat get another 2 guard that figures to be a future superstar into the mix there. Dwayne Wade's going to have some competition now for the best 2 guard in franchise history. That's going to bring us here to the Rockets at number 3, who have been in some interesting trade talks leading up to the draft. The Rockets are a team that are looking to win now rather than have more of a long-term rebuild. And so they have been in trade talks with that in mind. And right as they were on the clock on draft night, a big-time trade came to be. And the trade is a massive 3-teamer involving the Reign, the Rockets, and the Celtics. The Celtics have been a very expensive team, and they just have been unable to really match their expectations. They always sim poorly in every 2K with this core, and the reason is they never have enough depth. So they are getting off a $60 million contract in Jaylen Brown, who's certainly a very good player, but they are trying to turn Jaylen Brown into a treasure trove of assets that will help build a lot of depth around Jason Tatum. Meanwhile, the Rockets are adding a star veteran that they can add around their very promising core. They are giving up their best remaining draft picks to do so, but it's time for this Rockets team to kind of push their chips in. I think they have the core that can contend with a star addition like Jaylen Brown. For the Reign, they really wanted a top 3 selection in this class, and they move up from 5 to 3 with this trade. They will also get the 18th overall pick in this draft, and they are supplying some of the draft ammo that's going to go towards Boston Celtics' big-time trove of assets. And I think this is actually supposed to go to the Rockets here for this trade. Oh, no, not this one. This one. So the Celtics get Emmanuel Quickley and 5 first-round picks in this deal. The Rockets receive Jaylen Brown and a second-round pick. And the Kansas City Reign receive pick 5, pick 18, and Clint Capella in this deal. And this was finalized moments before the clock expired for the number 3 overall selection in the draft. So that leaves us with the Kansas City Reign on the board at pick 3. And the choice here is pretty obvious. It is going to be Norm Adams, the point guard prospect, who is a star shooter. Bringing up his clips here, Norm Adams can absolutely light it up from beyond the 3-point line. And that's what is getting him drafted this high. He has other skill sets that you can really be excited about as well, but it's really that sweet 3-point touch that has him with some pretty lofty comparisons here ahead of his rookie season. Norm Adams is the newest face of the Kansas City Reign franchise, and this trade up allowed them to create a future backcourt that has a lot of Kansas City Reign fans excited. Norm Adams starts with 6 badges. He starts with a silver badge. Let's not forget that. So that's pretty impressive. Tony Parker, All-NBA ceiling. He's already a starting caliber player. No weaknesses to report. These top 3 prospects were all very, very good players. And he is the newest member of the Kansas City Reign. And the draft keeps moving along here as the Utah Jazz are the next up on the clock with the number 4 overall selection. The rumors are that they will be taking the big man Frederick Rodman with this pick, and that is who they will take. 7-footer out of Purdue, a big man who's a little bit more raw than the guys that we have seen be drafted already, and he doesn't quite have the game that lacks any weaknesses whatsoever. There was certainly a teardrop off, but still a big man with a ton of upside to add to the plethora of young players already on this Utah Jazz roster. That brings us to the Boston Celtics, who are on this quest to build a lot of depth around Jason Tatum and Derek White. And their number 1 player to add to the rebuild will be Carl Parks. I think that's a very solid pick for them to add here and replace Jaylen Brown with a prospect that combines being able to provide some year 1 value with some long-term upside as well. Carl Parks to the Celtics at 5. Sasha Pavic, maybe the first surprise of the draft, 6'5", 222 pounds, out of Slovenia, goes to the Pelicans with the number 6 pick here. Frederick Moreland, another higher upside player, another very large player, 6'10" and 270 pounds. We talked about how Will Burke was 270 at 7'3", so being 270 at 6'10", that's a bulky power forward, but he certainly has some upside, more of an interior power forward. Dante Dennis, some had him as high as the 4th best prospect in this class. He goes at 8 to the Philadelphia 76ers. They add another guard to the mix. He is, despite his lack of ideal positional size, he is a very good defensive prospect. Coming in at number 9, Cody Knox, a divisive prospect. Some people say his ceiling is high, while others think he'll be no higher than, a starting player in this league. So the Celtics are looking to move off of this 10th pick to get a different pick. I'm going to say yes here. I'm not sure I 100% understand what's going on here. But Draymond Green and 14 for 10. Okay, I don't know what that really does for Boston here. But they're going to go and trade up to number 10 to take a 5'10" point guard. I don't know if you're getting the next Steph Curry at point guard here with Marvin Mason. He was the star of the combine, but that's pretty much it. Ken Winston, the small forward out of Arizona, is next up. He goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Spurs are looking to add Quentin Grimes for this pick. I'm going to go ahead and say that it can go through. And the Pistons take Kelly Jamison. That leaves the Kansas City Reign in a spot where, based on the information given, I think there is a player clearly at the top of their board right now. And so they're going to try to trade up here with this 13th pick, with the 18th pick that they got in their recent trade. What the deal is going to look like is a pair of second-round picks, as well as Clint Capella, who they received as part of that deal as well. The Pistons really need a backup center right now, and they're going to get one in the form of Clint Capella. And the player that the Reign will be targeting here was the number 1 player left on their board, and that is Germaine Davidson, who has a Blake Griffin All-NBA ceiling. The obvious pick at 3 was a point guard, but the Reign find themselves in a spot where they could really use some help at the forward spots. And the best player left in this draft was Germaine Davidson, who's projected to start as a 76 overall. He's kind of got more of a C+ skill set across the board, but if he can reach that Blake Griffin ceiling, you're talking about a player who You can really mold to be any kind of player that you want. He's a young player in this class, good positional size as well, 6'9", with a 7'2" wingspan. They're going to nab themselves a forward here with the number 13 pick in the draft, making it Norm Adams and Germaine Davidson. This season 2 draft for the Kansas City Reign, they have to be absolutely elated with what they were able to pull off here in this draft. Moving along here, the Celtics decide to go with a center, a little bit undersized at just 6'9", but Jim Wagner is their man. Benjamin Copeland to the Knicks at 15. Then the Bulls go Chris Elliott, 7-footer to the Magic here. Michael Rowe, 7'2", to the Detroit Pistons. So they get the vet to back up early on, and then the young prospect that they can build to be a center for them in Michael Rowe. Neil Bledsoe. He's a guy who ended up falling a bit later in this class than he was projected. Was projected a later lottery pick. Very raw, but has some upside to him for sure. Raymond King out of Syracuse, 6'6", goes to the Nets. The Thunder are going to trade this pick for DeMar DeRozan. Okay. Kings, I think that's a good move for them. They go Martin Henry, a 6'10" power forward, to add to their now younger core after the departure of DeMar DeRozan. Charlotte off the board here. We get a Turkey player going to Memphis. Not a name that I'm going to try to pronounce at this stage. Ike Luala out of Nigeria to the Clippers, and with the Brooklyn Nets on the clock, it is now the Las Vegas Venom trying to trade up in this draft. And a deal was made. Jalen Clark, as well as 2 second-round picks, was enough for the Brooklyn Nets to move off of the number 25 overall selection. Much like the Reign, there was a forward in this draft that the Las Vegas Venom were certainly targeting. And in this draft, his name is Paris Webb III. Following the Michael Porter Jr. trading last year, we had Harrison Barnes playing our backup power forward minutes, and that's just not something that was going to last for the Venom. A backup power forward was something they needed to come away with in this draft. Throughout the draft cycle, I said that I really liked Paris Webb just in terms of his starting grades. I think he can play backup power forward pretty easily in year one, and we are going to be selecting him here with the number 25 selection in the NBA draft. And with that, those are going to be all the selections for the expansion teams in the Season 2 draft. Both come up with one of the franchise-changing prospects at the top of the draft, as well as a power forward to help surround those prospects with good talent for future seasons. And that's going to wrap up the draft until we now hop into the draft recap. Taking a look at the draft recap screen now. Will Burke, a potentially controversial selection at number 1 overall. He ends up being an 83 overall. We know the badges here. What we really want to know is the potential. So with a position average of 86, that blue bar is slightly above that. That's looking like an 88 base potential. Now, we knew this was likely going to be the case, and that we need Will Burke to hit his boom ceiling in order for this pick not to look foolish in the future. That was ultimately a bet that I was willing to make in this class. I think he's going to get the opportunity right away, and he's going to be somebody who we're going to give a high touches tendency. He'll be able to put up the stats, I think, to have a better chance of hitting that boom ceiling. 88 off the rip doesn't look great. I know, but I was prepared for that. This draft pick, in order for it to work, he needs to hit his ceiling, his boom ceiling, which is going to be, I think, more probably in the mid-90s. Otherwise, this is going to ultimately look foolish if he only ever goes up by 5 overall in his career, and he ends up at an 88 when Brook Paul might end up as a 98. And now it's time to see exactly what we ended up missing on here. Brook Paul going to wear number 2 for Miami, it looks like. And oh boy, that potential does look very, very high. I mean, that looks like probably at least 10 overall over that position average, if not more. That's a pretty big gap. And once again, I was prepared for that to be the case. I knew Brook Paul was going to have a lower base potential than... Will Burke was going to have a lower base potential than Brook Paul. I was prepared for that. And I'm going to be prepared for people to say that I had a bad pick. That's okay. I believe in Will Burke. And I'm excited to pair Will Burke with Ken Nixon for the future. And I'm sure the Miami Heat are absolutely ecstatic to have Brook Paul. Next up, we have Norm Adams. He has... the badges really don't change that often, but let's go ahead and look at potential here. With a position average of 87, that's looking like a 93 would be my guess. That's pretty good for Norm Adams. That's pretty good and looking like a great pick for the Reign. Frederick Rodman, 75 overall to start. That's looking kind of similar, maybe like a 92. That's pretty good. The Jazz will certainly take a center with potential that looks like it's easily going to be in the 90s. Probably lower 90s, but great pick for the Jazz. Carl Parks for the Boston Celtics. The first pick in a new era of young Boston Celtics. That's looking pretty good. Maybe an 87, 88. 88 would be my guess. That's pretty good for Carl Parks. And that can be somebody that, you know, as Jason Tatum gets into his 30s, he can be his new running mate. Pavic here was a little bit surprised by this selection and ends up probably like an 84 potential. Frederick Moreland, he had a pretty good ceiling comparison, but his base potential is looking like 85, 86. Dante Dennis, his whole thing was potential. He's only 71 to start. Yeah, his potential is around 90, though, so that's pretty good. These are all projections, of course, as I'm going off the bar. When it's dead even, you can tell. So Cody Knox's potential is 84. Marvin Mason, 5'10". Where do the Warriors get here? An 88 potential, it looks like. That's going to be interesting to see how he progresses. Winston, a few above an 84, maybe an 87-ish. Jameson was somebody that we spent some time reviewing. 89, 90. Pretty good. Now Germaine Davidson. Now, I think he's going to be kind of like Burke, where you're going to need to have him hit his boom ceiling, and you are, because that base potential is looking like a low 80s. But of course, he had that All-NBA Blake Griffin ceiling, so if you hit him on the boom ceiling, it's going to be much higher than that. But you're going to need to play him early to give him a better shot at hitting that higher ceiling, because this is base potential looking like maybe an 81. Let's fast forward here to pick 25. Paris Webb. Really liked him for his grades, and that's looking like maybe an 85 potential. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And that's going to do it here for the Season 2 drafts. I think both teams got to be pretty happy, you know, considering what happened in the lottery. The Reign probably had even higher hopes for this draft. They were probably hoping for Brook Paul, honestly, being the worst team in the league, but considering they got screwed by the lottery, I think they traded in Emmanuel quickly. It would have been a good starter for them, for a guy with just significantly more upside in the future to be the lead man for their franchise. While the Venom get the just absolute monster of a man, measurables really only seen in the league today by Wemby and him now in that class of people that are this large. That's why I drafted him. I got the point that people were saying that you could get a Wemby stopper later in the rebuild, but not this caliber. You're not getting a guy who's 7'3" with a 7'11" wingspan later on in this series. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but honestly, I kind of doubt it. And I think this was our chance, and I'm taking a swing. Whether or not it'll end up being the right or the wrong swing, only time will tell. Moving on to the free agency portion of the episode, we're going to have everybody accept for both teams on all counts here. The Venom, we're going to have to carry Jeremy Grant at $36 million this year. That's going to be truly so much fun. But the other ones are mostly young guys here. The Reign will have to bring a couple of guys back in free agency, seeing as how they declined their options, while the Venom got all their guys back. I'm also extending all qualifying offers here. The Reign only have 1, and the Venom have 4 here. There are a lot of big-name unrestricted free agents here at the top of the class. We'll see where these guys go. I mean, Wemby's going to say he's a restricted free agent. But these other guys, there's some offers already out for these really, really high-end players that are available. We'll see if guys like Giannis or Jokic end up, moving on to different teams, maybe Donovan. But let's see what these expansion teams are going to be up to in free agency. In terms of the Reign, we're going to focus on bringing back our own players here to start. Bryce Sensabaugh wants a lot of money, probably more than I think he's earned up to this point, but you don't want to lose him for nothing at this point, so we're going to do a 3-year 21 flats. That's a pretty tradable salary if that ends up being the way things go in the future, but for now, 3 years at $21 million per year for Bryce Sensabaugh. After that, we're going to be bringing in Max Christie. We're going to go 2 years, another flat. We'll go down to 15 on him, maybe even lower. We'll go to 14 on Max Christie. And draft-only franchise, you're so restricted in team building, losing guys for nothing. You want to avoid at all costs here. I think we'll extend to 2 for Ryan Rollins because there's not really a better alternative for a backup point guard right now. So we'll do maybe something like a 4.2 flat for the 2-year period here. For the Venom, there are some guys to bring back as well, including Jarris Walker, who wants a lot of money, a very surprising amount of money, 27.66. This has it even higher than that. I'm definitely not doing that. This tells me that his potential is still pretty high and that he has some room to grow, which is exciting. But kind of with Bryce Sensabaugh, I'm going to lower the years and definitely lower the money here. Probably 33 is as low as I can feel comfortable with him accepting. That seems crazy for Jarris Walker, but for now, we're not really hurting money-wise. We don't have a lot of big contracts except for Jeremy Grant, surprisingly enough, right now. So I'll do this, and we'll hope that Jarris Walker has a big offseason in terms of development, because he needs to in order to even be close to earning this contract. Julian Strother, probably a 2-year for 8, maybe 8.5 here. And Hawkins, probably the same. I view them very similarly, so I'm willing to offer them the same contract right now. Those are the 3 offers for each in the first period, and everybody's going to agree on both sides. So day 2, time to go with Kobe Buffkin here. The Venom did not go with Brook Paul, so we still are counting on Kobe Buffkin to be our backup point guard. So we'll go with a 2-year contract there. I'm going to hold off on Harrison Barnes for now because we do get his replacement. Nicholas Batum is also somebody that we can hold off. So it's time to start thinking about mentors for the young guys on both of these teams. The Reign have 2 open roster spots, and they're going to focus on backcourt mentors because their 2 biggest prospects are backcourt guys. So looking at point guards for Norm Adams, Damian Lillard would be cool, but he's too high of an overall to be considered a mentor, so we're going to have to go elsewhere here. You have 11 badges on Schroeder, which is nice. Probably a lot of overlap, though. Let's look at this. Silver Lightning launch is nice on Fred VanVleet if he keeps it, though. That's the thing. Dinwiddie. Silver Dimer would be good. I'm not overwhelmed. I mean, you could go for a more defensive-minded one with Marcus Smart. I'm not sure. So Mini Marksman and Shifty Shooter being at silver for campaign, I think are both really good badges. And he's not super old, so there's a pretty good chance he keeps those. So I'm actually going to... You wouldn't think campaign would be the best one, but based on the badges that Norm Adams already has, I think that's actually pretty good. Our first priority for the Venom side... Let's go with our first guard one here. We're looking at more of a 2 guard here. Alternatively, I wouldn't mind the more defensive-minded one with Marcus Smart for Ken Nixon, trying to just make him a beast of a defender. What are the... there's not a lot of defensive badges left at this point for Klay Thompson, which makes sense. I'm actually, while I'm on the Reign, I'm actually going to have I'm going to get Klay Thompson for the Reign, and he'll be their final. For the Venom, I think I'm actually going to go Marcus Smart. It's not like the perfect fit because Marcus Smart's a point guard, but I think giving some defensive badges to Ken Nixon would be great. In terms of the center, I want either badges that will help the defense for Will Burke or that will help his post game. Valanciunas will definitely help his post game. Not really seeing like a great defender that will have a lot of badges here. Probably it would end up being Capella. Which, so they got him and then they released him to free agency. That's kind of funny. So the question here, do we want post badges or do we want defense badges here with this? That'll determine if it's Clint Capella or if it's Jonas Valanciunas. I think we're going to go with Clint Capella here. I have to offer him a 7.37. Why? Whatever, I'll offer him a 7.37. Oh, it's because he just got waived. So is this like pretty much a claim, I guess? Clint Capella and Marcus Smart agree with the Venom, and Klay Thompson and Campaign agree with the Reign. There are your mentors here for Season 2. There's not enough roster space to get it for the power forwards this year, unfortunately, for either team. I'll double check to make sure that's true, but I'm pretty sure it is. Time to take a look at free agency across the league now, and it is worth noting that both teams did have one extra roster spot, so I assigned them each a power forward to mentor. Harrison Barnes is back for the Venom, and for the Reign, it is Dorian Finney-Smith. But taking a look around the league, no surprise, Victor Wembanyama stays with the Spurs. We do get a big surprise, though. For some reason, Jokic decides to go to the Steph Curry-less Warriors. I don't know why he would do this. That team's not very good. They also got Amen Thompson. Okay, this is kind of crazy. So the Rockets got Jaylen Brown, and then they decided not to bring back Amen Thompson? Why would they do that to themselves? So Jokic and Thompson is a duo out in Golden State now. Donovan Mitchell's on the Suns. Kyrie's a Clipper. Giannis actually decided to go back to the Bucks. Jalen Green is a net. As is Bilal Coulibaly. I don't know why the Wizards would want it. Like, some of these restricted free agents, how are they not matched? How is a Men Thompson not matched? That is crazy to me. That's easily the weirdest one. The Rockets deciding not to match for a Men Thompson when they clearly have a really good team. Donovan in Phoenix is kind of fun to replace Jalen Green. He's definitely better than Jalen Green. Now there's a Booker-Mitchell backcourt. That'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm kind of bummed out that the Rockets decided not to match for a men. Part of me wants to reverse that deal, because why would Houston never not do it? But I won't. At least I think I won't. I also don't know why the Wizards wouldn't match for Bilal. I mean, that's a lot of money for Coulibaly for sure, but a lot of big money spent at the top of free agency this year. RJ Barrett's to the Heat. So they replaced Coulibaly with Pajemski. Okay, fair enough, I guess. Michael Porter Jr. went back to the Nuggets to play with Jokic, but Jokic left him. Sag. Really odd free agency. That is for certain. And that brings us to the player progression screen of the offseason. Very important, as the players selected in the year one NBA draft have their first chance to develop for both the Venom and the Reign. And without further ado, let's hop into the screen. +8 for Ken Nixon, who is up to 20 badges now. He now has A- interior scoring, A mid-range, A+ 3-point. He's an A+ perimeter defender, B+ playmaker. Athleticism went up. IQ's now an A+. He's a better rebounder. Let's go ahead and see his badges. Silver Deadeye, layup, on-ball menace, rebound chaser, shifty shooter now. Did he get lightning launch? He did get lightning launch. That's very important for drivers in this game for sure. Also got set shot specialist, physical finisher, interceptor, glove. Looking really, really good on Ken Nixon. I'm glad we didn't draft another 2-guard. Well, Brook, of course, didn't progress. And then we do get a +5 for Jarris Walker, which is pretty crazy. He's also up to 16 badges. I see why he was asking for a lot of money now, for sure. A +5, kind of crazy. He's now an A+ 3-point shooter. Better across the board defensively. Simon's in 82. He went slightly down, but not really all that much. Ryan Dunn went up a couple, including his 3-point shots. And perimeter defense going up. His IQ went up. His playmaking went up. He has 12 badges. So our starting lineup right here is going to be all 80+ overall now. That's pretty good. Julian Strother to a 79. He also got a couple of badges, set shot specialist and shifty shooter. So he's a good shooter now with an A 3-pointer. Hawkins. I mean, these guys will do nothing to separate themselves from each other. We got +2 overall for Buffkin, but it was just IQ. He did not improve as a shooter at all, which doesn't help his long-term case for sure. So I had to trade away Jeremy Grant because we didn't have the money to actually get the mentors that I wanted. We got Saddiq Bey, so that's why Saddiq Bey's on this team. He's nothing. He's not going to play. Reynaud does not go up any overall. So that probably means that our backup center to start the year is going to be Jalen Williams. I needed some development from Reynaud. I really did. There's what you have for the Venom. Very surprising here with Jarris Walker. You love to see it with Nixon. Not as much of a surprise, but definitely great development. I actually kind of want to see before we go. Let's look at like his actual ratings. 93 layup, 83 driving dunk, 86 close, 92 mid-range, 93 pointer now, 88 free throw. He's going to be much better at drawing fouls, much better passer and ball handler. We had the playmaking as his training. So you're seeing big ups there. Much more consistent offensively. Better help defense IQ and better defensive consistency. Much stronger. Bulked up a bit, did our boy Ken Nixon. Now let's go to the Kansas City Reign, and you have Jalen Duren going up +2 at age 23. That's pretty good. Now has Hall of Fame box out beast and gold rebound chaser. We know what he is, but he's very good at what he does. Next big thing you want to see here is Dragic +9. That you love to see. Now 10 badges as well. Some really good ones here. Some really good ones here for Dragic. +1 for Sensabaugh, +2 for Christie, +1 for Kispert. No ups for Jovic. That's got to be pretty disappointing. It's a good thing the Reign got some competition. Also, no additions from Broom. So the addition of Davidson's looking pretty clutch now that neither of their power forwards went up at all. I honestly kind of forgot that they already had Caruso on this team. There you have it. If we go around the league, we get a +7 for Reed Shepherd. I'm still upset this team doesn't have Amen Thompson on it. Castle +3 to an 88. Harper +5 to an 88. Malawatch +5. Nixon +6. So that couple of front court guys to go with a couple of back court guys. That's an interesting team in Phoenix. Johan Behringer up 5. Dillinger up 3. Scoot goes up 4. Sharp goes up 3. We saw that one. Oh, wacky Warriors team. Now, a lot of green on this screen for the Wizards. Another very young team. +4 for Delk up to an 87. Sar to an 86. Fox goes up at age 29. You love to see it. Trey Johnson up to an 84. Matherin. So I guess they have Matherin. That's why they felt comfortable getting away from Coulibaly. That one didn't bother me as much, nearly as much as the Rockets just not matching on him, man. +4 for VJ Edgecombe. Joel Embiid starting a very steep decline. +3 for Alton Dawkins. +5 for Jalen Hood-Schifino. I'd love if that happened in real life. I was very high on him coming out of the draft. That would make me look better with my take. Eschmeyer +4 for Chicago, and Giddey +3. What's Cleveland going to do now? That's interesting without Donovan. The Celtics no longer have Jaylen Brown, but are hoping to have a deeper team. You're not going to see the fruits of that in this season probably, but going forward, they're going to have just more young guys that can get good development and become better pieces around Jason Tatum. Unfortunately, just having a good duo doesn't work in 2K. Otherwise, I would never do that. Trade away Jaylen Brown. Clippers get +4 from Grady Dick, who's on their team now. Christie goes up 6. Conan Niederhauser goes up 5. Taylor Hendricks on that team now. Good for them. I like Taylor Hendricks. Cedric Coward up 6 for the Grizzlies. He was really good when we watched him play this year. Rizachet, the best player on the Hawks now. Asa Newell went up 5. Johnson went up 2. +7 for Carl Matthews. +3 for Yakuchonis. Con Knipple up to an 85 for the Hornets. Bailey up to an 85. Keontae George up to an 85. Got +4 from Walt Clayton and Dariq Whitehead. Paco Mdadier up 4. Bronny James up 5. Paulo Banchero went up 2. You love to see that. Anthony Black went up a few spots. Cooper Flagg up to a 94. A's all over the place in his report card. Brooklyn Nets now led by Jalen Green and Bilal Coulibaly. Big jump from Nolan Traore, who's now above Demon. Karen Mann up 3. I mean, Jamal Murray has to be on the trade block at this point. I think the Nuggets are probably the next team to just blow it up, you have to think. +5 for Derek Queen, +6 for Lewis Miller, +3 for Jeremiah Fears. A lot of green on the screen for Detroit. Malachi Branham +5. And that gets us back to the Reign. So there you have it. Very exciting upgrades for both of the teams here. I think the +9 that we saw from Dragic was the best in the league. The biggest jump in the entire league. He definitely needed it, and he got it. So really good for him. And he's now a starting caliber player for the Reign. And you can start that Adams-Dragic backcourt next year and have a lot of fun with it. That's going to bring us to the end of the offseason here, but there are a couple of things I want to do to wrap up this episode. It looks like the Venom will kick off the season against the Wizards, and it'll be the Pistons for the Reign. The Wizards is a very interesting opening matchup for the Venom, I'll say that. But I did want to update a couple of players, their looks. First is Dragic here. I think editing that hair was something that's been requested in the past. Man, he looks just like Norm Adams on that. He's like a edited version of Norm Adams. So this is kind of a weird mohawk. If we wanted to keep the mohawk look, but maybe a more natural version of it, that's a pretty crazy version of it. Or something like that, maybe. One version that's it's kind of mohawky and is very voluptuous. I think this could be a pretty cool look for Dragic. Could also do the. I mean, he's a white guy, so you can't. There's a lot of these hairs that you can't do, right? So it just kind of depends on if you want to keep the mohawk kind of look, or if you want it to be more reserved. For now, I'm going to put it on this last one. I think it's a new one to this game. I don't think I've seen this hairstyle before. Still kind of has a mohawk shape, but it's just... I mean, there's some crazy volume on that hair. So that's what he's going to be rocking with for his second season. And then on the Venom, we're also going to have a slightly different year 2 look on a player. It's going to be Ken Nixon, who's going to add a little bit of facial hair to his look. It's not going to be a lot. It's just going to be some on the chin there. And that's going to be a new look for Ken Nixon, as he's been in the league for a little bit now. And that's going to wrap it up for the offseason. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back soon to start Season 3, and I will see you then. Fangs out.